Are we going?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
Ready? Are you gonna count us in or like a
You're gonna
professional?
be like a professional, and you go.
All
You don't
right.
say 3, 2, and 1.
3.
No, you go 5, 4.
No, ka jar then do ek.
Go.
No, I'm not go. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, hey, we're back again for our second Canucks podcast.
I didn't know if we are gonna do the second one, but we're here.
Yeah, it's
Good.
good. We got a lot of things to talk about. So,
What are we gonna talk about
well,
today?
how about we talk about fighting and with the Canucks in particular leading the league in fights?
That's unusual for me. Canucks just don't seem like a team that actually fights. They seem kind of, in my eyes anyway, a little.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
going to say the same thing. Like, they have to be, like, when we talk about tough, there's tough and then there's fighting. But they're still not a hard enough team to play against. They still don't play a hard enough game. But they lead the league in fights. And it's unusual. It's been a long time since the Canucks have led the league in fights. I think part of it's the frustration of the season, the way the season's gone so far. And I also think that some of those guys, there's some guys on there trying to, show the coach that they want to be in the lineup every night, and they have to. If that's what it means having to do, then that's what they got to do. You got Shen, you got. I was surprised to find out that Dakota Joshua has only 3 fights this year and only 6 in his career. I guess I always thought of him as a
Tough guy.
tough guy, right? But I know he can play a little bit, but I guess Shen would lead the club in fights.
My thing is like I looking back now, I'm thinking I remember one game with JT Miller and Bo Horvat dropping the gloves in the first period. Don't know exactly which game it was. You don't want those guys fighting.
No, not
Right?
at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Those are your top end guys. You don't want them fighting at all. Leave the fighting to the other guys. Leave the fighting to the guys that do that. That's part of their game. No, yeah, that's part of Miller's game. It's not part of Horvat's game.
Miller's not a good fighter.
He's not a good fighter,
Yeah, so.
but when he plays physical, he's gonna drop the gloves a few times. Now, it shouldn't happen because he's too valuable to the team, and also he's not a good fighter. And there's nothing more demoralizing to a team than, especially on home ice, losing a fight. Well, not just losing a fight, but losing a fight badly, getting beat up. They fight to try and change the momentum sometimes. And when you come out on the losing end of that, it does the opposite. And that's what it's done for a few times this year. I've seen Canucks this year fight to try and, I think, swing the momentum their way or change the game in some way. And it's actually gone the opposite.
Yeah.
And the other team have,
Well, it works both ways.
the
right?
other team's
So,
gotten that spark from it. And, that's not necessarily, I mean, the whole point of those guys fighting some fights this year was to try and do that. And it hasn't, it's worked in reverse. So, I'm not saying that that's a plan. We're going to go out and get a fight, but guys know, try and swing the momentum.
Yeah, I think everybody in the league realizes when they're down like 4-0 or something, something's going to happen. But it's usually the tough guys that actually initiate it. And I guess Joshua is a tough guy for us. I mean, anywhere else in the league, he'd probably be a lightweight.
Yeah.
But for us, he's the tough guy, and Shen is the guy
But
that's...
again, Shen is too valuable out there. You miss him too much when he's sitting in the box for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, you had, what's his name, Riley? What was his name?
Riley Stillman.
Stillman. Yeah, Riley Stillman dropped the gloves a week ago or so, and then you got, what's his name, Myers dropping it a couple times.
And even little Garland got in a fight.
Yeah, no, we don't want Garland fighting.
No, we don't,
yeah.
but it's again, that was out of frustration, I think.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but it's very shocking to me that the Canucks lead the league in fights.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can understand like a big team, like back in the days, LA, you had a big team, Boston had big guys, those guys leading the league.
Look at Minnesota now, they're a really big team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you had a guy like Reeves, yeah, definitely. that guy could change the momentum
But
with one hit.
and as I said, if you're fighting to try and spark your team or change the momentum, well, it's done the opposite effect this year. It's just usually that that works for your team, or
Yeah, you know what? It does, but with the Canucks, the way they've done it this year, they've been in leads, and they're so frustrating. The losing leads, like multiple goal leads, and they did it again just recently against Calgary, where they're up 2-0 in the first 2 minutes, and they barely win it in overtime. It's just like, it is what it is, and you gotta expect. They're trying to do it, which is, I applaud them for it, but maybe not get off to such a bad start that where you need to change the momentum. And even when, I can't even say that, they get off to great starts sometimes. They are up 3 goals, 2 goals on a team, but they just can't hold on to them, right? So,
well, another thing too is there's been too many times this year when the Canucks they're down 4-0, and you want to see them do something and they don't. It seems that they lead the league in fights. That a lot of the fights this year for the Canucks have multiple fights in a game. So you're padding your fight count by having 2 or 3 in a game. Yeah. And I want to see when you're down 4-0 early. Not even to change the momentum as much as just to show that you care and that you're frustrated. Run a guy or drop the gloves with somebody just to show that that you care about your team, and that you're not just accepting that.
Well, with me, I think a lot of the Canucks fights have just been for the sake of fighting. It's not because one of their teammates got hit or high sticked or anything that you're sticking up for them.
They're fighting for the sake of fighting. Those
exactly
prearranged fights, and that doesn't do anything.
Exactly, they go up like the Stillman fight a couple weeks back.
Put Stillman on the wing there.
Because he had a high hit on that guy. He hit him in the face, I think, with the shoulder.
Yeah.
Was it Greenwell or something like
Greenway. Jordan Greenway.
Yeah, exactly. So I understand he made a mistake, had to own up to it. I applaud him for that, but yeah, those type of
fights aren't helping the Canucks. No. I mean, they don't help anybody, but they're not fighting for the right reasons, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you're going to fight, have it help your team.
Well, or if somebody's taking liberties.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, exactly. But don't just fight for the sake of fighting.
Hoping to change the momentum. That doesn't work. I don't think in this day and age. Everybody knows about it. Nobody cares.
And all that being said, there were a few times, especially in the recent weeks, where a Canuck was hit. It's okay, good hit, bad hit. That's going to be, that's debatable. Everybody's going to have a different opinion.
Yeah.
But I think I would have liked to see a Canuck jump in there and fight whether his teammate thought it was right, or a good hit or a bad hit. Sometimes you just got to do what you have to do for your teammate. Like last year, that happened several times, and again, the same result. There was no result, no pushback. Where it might be a good hit, but you still got to do that sometimes.
Especially if your top end players like a Pettersson or Kuzmenko or Bo Horvat or even Miller. Even if they're big guys, if they're your top end players and they get hit, even if it's questionable, it might be borderline okay. The third or fourth line guy has got to go out there and make a point. You're not hitting our guy.
Absolutely, they have to do that. And one thing that,
and it can't be always your defenseman.
No. That you have 12 forwards, and there's half a dozen that can do that role, that can go out and fight in that situation. But as I said, it might be a good hit, but it's borderline. Yeah. You just got to show. You have to show your teammates and stand up for your teammates.
Well, I totally agree with that. I mean, but the Canucks are who they are. They're not a tough team. I don't think anyone's scared of fighting them. Yeah. So that's where they lose the momentum in the fights.
And that's the whole point of the Canucks leading the league in fights. If you didn't really know and you didn't really watch
I didn't know.
If you didn't watch this team regularly, you saw the Canucks, and you see somewhere the Canucks lead the league in fights. Fighting majors, well, they must be a tough team.
No.
And they're not a tough team. They're not a hard team to play against.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I want to talk about right now is Bo Horvat. And right now, with all the news media saying that the Canucks offered him a deal, the last final deal, the best deal that they could do it, and Bo Horvat turned it down. Allegedly, it's supposed to be under $8 million a year, and Bo has said no, or him and his agent have said no to it. And now, allegedly again, because we don't really know, because no one's actually talking about it. The Canucks are planning to shop him around now. They're not going to make another offer. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion he will be traded, especially at this point. And I think he'll be traded maybe a little closer to the. I don't think they're going to wait till right deadline day. I think he's going to be traded a little closer. But the big thing is, what are they going to get in return? Are they wanting young players and prospects and a draft pick? Are they trying to dump salary? Are they going to bring salary in?
Well, from what I've heard, and this is just off of social media again, they want one top end player, one prospect, one draft pick, and maybe more. That's what they're asking right now. That's what it's been reported. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I think they could get that, but I'm scared that if they wait longer and closer to the trade deadline, it's going to be a JT Miller situation again. We all thought last year, JT Miller's gone. Miller's gone. Nothing happened.
Well, I agree with you. That's why I think he'll probably be traded in mid-February. That's when late January to early to mid-February before I don't know when the deadline is, but
it's probably probably February.
Yeah, well, then I think they probably ended late January, early February, and the biggest thing is what are you going to get back? There's so many debates about what the Canucks are going to get back. It's not what the fans think they want. There's a difference in want and need, and I think the Canucks, because they're not in a full rebuild, they're not about shedding salary to bring in more salary. I think they're going to go after, as you said, a young prospect, a draft pick,
and a guy that
could, legitimate NHLer, right? So they're not going to be trading Bo for another top end player in the league.
Yeah, well, we hope.
Well,
I'm of the belief, and maybe this is contrary to everybody else, that they are going to try to re-sign him. And this is because as everybody's thinking, oh, they can't fit him under the salary cap, blah, blah, blah. Well, with the Besser situation, Besser's gone. There's no way I could see him, unless there's something really, really, bonkers, that Besser's back. So you got to get rid of Besser. Besser's basically made it known he doesn't want to be here. Allegedly this, what happened with him on cancer or NHL Fights Cancer Day. He was taken aback, allegedly again. He was told he was not going to play. He blew up, allegedly. And him and his agents got together and they said he's done with the Canucks. And then all of a sudden, Joshua got an injury. They got him back in the lineup.
A phantom injury.
Yeah, phantom injury, just so he could get back in the lineup to save a little face. And it wasn't, from what I'm hearing, it wasn't a coach's decision. It was a management decision that he needs to be in the game just to appease everybody. And that's why they also gave his agent, liberty to look for a trade or whatever.
Also, if you want to trade a guy, I want him to play, teams to see what he can do. You don't want to be in the situation Carolina was in with Ethan Bear where he didn't play all year.
Well, the coach wasn't going to play him.
No, but I mean, I would like to see Brock in the lineup, even if they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
And apparently he was a healthy, according to NHL.com, he was a healthy scratch the other night. Now the Canucks
are saying it's a mystery illness. It
wasn't non-COVID related illness. Yeah. But the very first thing that I saw online was that from the NHL. This was coming from a Canuck insider that from NHL.com was that he was going to be a healthy scratch. So I don't, at this point, if you're going to move a guy, just play him, let him run out,
Yeah, put him on with Pettersson.
Yeah.
Put him on JT Miller or whatever and do the lotto line again.
At this point, you're not a playoff team. You're not going to make the playoffs. Put him in there. You have a better chance of playing it. You have a better chance of trading a guy if you're playing him.
Well, I totally agree. And that's why I'm thinking with Besser, I think he's gone this year. If you shed a little bit of salary, that opens up room where you can keep Horvat. I don't think you're moving Miller, so forget about that. You're not moving OEL. You're not moving Myers. Those things aren't going to happen.
Especially the Myers contract.
So I'm thinking you can unless you totally screw things up, re-sign Bo Horvat long term. And I wouldn't be opposed to that. I like the guy, but I'm also intrigued to see what we could get for him.
It would be nice to see.
Yeah.
And it'd be good for Bo, right? I mean, I think Bo's having a career year, but, it would be good for him because this team's not going anywhere. Bo, there's still a lot of criticism of Bo, regardless of the year he's having. And I think that, a change of scenery would probably help.
But it's like JT Miller last year, right? He had his best year. We signed him, he's gone back down a bit,
contract
right?
Year.
So
what do you think, Peter, that the return on somebody like Brock Besser would be?
Not much right now. Not much. If you could, get a feasible, NHL player, second liner, whatever, plus shed some salary, I think the Canucks do it.
Because anytime it's known that a player's asked for a trade, the value in the return value is never what it would have been before that.
Especially when you're offering the agent to make a deal. So everybody knows you've washed your hands of them. You can't do it. Yeah. So then they give you pennies on the dollars once again.
What else? Do you think there's any other players that haven't been proposed to be traded that we haven't heard any rumors about that could be on the move?
Well, everybody's talked about Luke Shen, right? That he's played himself and he'd be a perfect deadline acquisition for a Stanley Cup contender.
That might be true, but I, as a Canuck fan, don't want to see that happen. I want to see Shen here. You're going to need some veteran players here, too. You can't just...
I disagree with that totally because I'm like, he's older, and on any other team, he's not on the top line. I mean, the pair D. He's just... Pair. Yeah, he can't be on there. Just on the Canucks here, he is, right? And I think right now he's got his all-time hit leader. He's got all this press behind him. Sell high because you don't know. He's older, right? He can't keep doing this.
Well, he surprised some people with, I think he's evolved in the way, the game is, and I want him on my team.
I understand that. I'd say if you could get there's somebody on TV yesterday or the day before saying all these guys that have been in this category have returned a first round draft pick in the last couple of years and been signed for over $4.5 million the next year on the contract. I'm like,
he's not going to get that. He's going to get one or two. He's playing for $800,000 this year
right now. But I think with all the hype about him, he's probably going to ask for about $2.5 million next year. Canucks can't afford that, especially with all these other people they got here.
Would you? And do you think the Canucks move Garland?
I would. I don't know what you get for him. And if you're not getting much for him, I would keep him. That's just the plain and simple on that. With Luke Shen, going back, sorry about that, but I still think if you get something for him at the trade deadline, no matter what, because we're not going to the playoffs.
No.
We both agree with that.
I agree with that, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you get him, you still have a chance to re-sign him.
I was just going to say, do you bring him back? Like a rental player and then bring him back already in July 1st?
Well, not unless, if somebody's giving him $2 million somewhere else.
No, understandable, right? But if you can work him into a team-friendly deal and get him to want to stay in Vancouver.
That's why I say trade deadline, he has to go. He has to go get some assets for him, get somebody else, open up some space here. We got all these blue line people, right?
Yeah.
That are in the minors or injured, supposedly. I don't think they're injured. They've just been kept on the sideline under this so-called injury thing. What's the name?
Travis Dermott hasn't played this year.
Exactly. Pullman's not going to be back.
Pullman's done.
So you got all these guys that are ready to go, supposedly. So, with Garland, if you can't get much for him, keep him.
I think, though, you could. I think if the right team is out there, Garland, you're not going to get a king's ransom for him, but I don't
think you would be able to shed salary with him either. If you could shed some salary, okay, I'm for it.
Well, I think if you could get a good young player who's maybe on an entry-level deal for a guy like Garland, and the Canucks don't have enough of those guys. They don't have any prospect guys like that in their system. So I think if you can get a player a young guy maybe in a second year of an entry level deal for a guy like Garland, you do it. I would do it.
Yeah, well, I would do it too if you could get that. I don't think you're going to get it for him right now. The way he's playing, this year's not been kind to him, so we'll see about that. Is there anybody else on the Canucks you would think should or could be traded?
Well, first of all, I think that if deals are made, we could all be completely shocked by somebody being traded that we don't think, or the return. That being said, looking up and down the roster, there's not a lot to move there, right? It's about what you're going to get in return, and just trading the guys for the sake of trading them. I mean, that's what you do in a rebuild, and they're by signing Miller last summer, they're definitely not a rebuild. So it'd be interesting.
My thing is, and I know people are everywhere are gonna hate me. The most amount of what would you call it? Return would be if you package, and I know you're gonna hate me, and everyone's gonna hate me. A Quinn Hughes. You're like, oh, he's a great offensive defenseman and stuff like that. Yes, he is. But if you want to, if you're in agreement that we're not gonna do much, I people talk about him being a Norris candidate. I don't see that. I see him defensively. I don't think he's good enough.
I think he's better than he gets credit for, but he just doesn't score any goals.
This year he hasn't. But offensively, I have no worries about him. I think he's great.
I guess I would consider that, especially since they've acquired Ethan Bear, another similar type defenseman, in the fact that you got to have somebody on that back end who creates offense, and Bear's the guy that does that.
But I'm thinking if you offer Quinn Hughes, you're going to get maybe multiple first round draft picks plus a feasible player, right? And my thing is, we're not anywhere close. I can't see, like, in a 7-game series, I can't see him holding up. I know the bubble year or whatever, we had this little thing, but everybody knows about him now. And you're telling me if they play a guy, somebody like Minnesota, Reeves ain't going to run him a couple of times? You run him a couple of times the first couple of games, he ain't going to be there by the end of the series. So I don't think he could help you, like, in the playoffs. I mean, during the regular season, he could get you maybe 80, 90 points or whatever it is and be really great, off the back end. So, and just imagine if you sent him to Montreal, I think is his uncle, is the GM there, Hughes?
That's not the same Hughes.
It's not related?
No.
I thought he was related to him.
No.
My bad. But then again, New Jersey.
His brother.
Yeah,
both brothers are.
Both brothers. You could get a king's ransom for that. And what are they missing back there? You get a guy like Severson back at stay-at-home defenseman, steady, plus draft picks to boot. I would do it. It also frees up space for a guy like Jack Rathbone. I know you're not going to like him. He's not great defensively. Offensively, he's pretty good. Not as good as Hughes. Pretty good. You're not that far, gone, and he's going to be way cheaper.
Well, I'm a huge Quinn Hughes fan.
I know.
And you need somebody on that back end who can. I mean, offense starts on defense, and you got to have somebody back there who's creative and can create offense. And this guy's skating ability, you think he wouldn't hold up in a long playoff series. The way he's barely ever been touched because the way he can maneuver. It
just takes one hit. Just takes one hit, and I know that's same thing could be said for McDavid and all these guys. My thing is he's a defenseman. He's not an offensive guy. He is going to be targeted, So I don't think it's that far gone where you can move a Hughes. And I know everybody's, you can't move a Hughes. You once in a lifetime player. No, you don't need that player, to win a Stanley Cup. It'd be great if you had it, if you have a solid defenseman. Look, OEL is out of position. You got him for, like, I don't know, three more years. Use him in the right position. He's going to get you some points.
But
not
OEL isn't like Hughes. The guys like Hughes are few and far between, and you have one, you hang on to him.
I say give Rathbone a shot.
Rathbone ain't no Quinn Hughes. I'll say that much.
I will agree with that, but I'm saying he's a poor man's Quinn Hughes.
No, he's not. He's an American leaguer for a reason.
I think you could give him a chance. He'll surprise you. No. Okay, let's move on to something else then. What's next? The power play?
The power play on this hockey team. And, right now, as of recording this, I believe, I don't know, between 5th and 7th in the league.
Yeah.
That being said, the reason their power play is where it is, and I think it's been as good as number 2 this year. But the reason it is where it is because they score multiple power play goals in a game. Yeah. Really, it's not a good power play. When they need a goal, when they need a goal on the power play, they don't get it. They might have scored 4 or 5 goals and then score a couple of goals, meaningless power play goals at the end of the game to rack up their percentage. But when they need a power play goal, it's not there. They can't get it. And the biggest thing is that first unit, not only are they too predictable, but they don't shoot the puck. And this is one thing I was discussing recently is with somebody was when Pettersson first came in the league, they have him on that off wing there to get that one-timer away. And now it seems like every pass is either in his skates or it's just not a pass that he can do that one-timer.
Who's passing it to him?
Generally it's
Hughes.
Miller.
No, it's Hughes.
Or Miller.
It's Hughes. Miller tries the cross ice pass. He never gets to him.
Regardless of Hughes, and I don't think that I think that's by.
No, I understand. I know what you say.
I think it's the Canucks don't want that. You got a guy who can one-time the puck like that. You have to have that.
Yeah, well, that's why Bo Horvat's been so successful this year. Because everyone's keying on the one-timer by Pettersson. And if it's not exactly right, he can't get it off to the right spot or in the right thing. And that's one of the things. The other thing I don't like about them, if things aren't going, get off in the first 45 seconds.
Well, yes, I was just going to agree with you there, Peter, because there's too many times where players have a chance to get off the ice on the Canucks. The other team will clear the puck. They'll have it down in the Canucks end. Hughes brings it up. They have a chance. They'll be, at that point, maybe they'll be 30, 45 seconds in. And then they don't change and they pass the puck around. They pass it around on the power play. Next thing you know, there's 18 seconds left and they're changing.
Yeah, that's my thing is that's one of the criticisms about the Canucks is the first unit always takes way too much. If first 45 seconds, if you've got control in the offensive zone, that's great. Stay on there. If it goes back, change, get the second unit in. Who knows if they take a shot, they get another, you can get back in at the end. But these guys just seems to, and I think it also goes with the coach. Coach has got to say, hey, no.
Well, absolutely. And I think because the Canucks, when you look at the percentage and where it is in the league, people will say, and the team would say this, we got a good power play. But theoretically, it's not. There's been so many games where the other team scores and then the Canucks go on a power play with a chance to tie it up and they don't get a shot on goal on the power play. Too much passing, not enough urgency, I think, on the power play, and too predictable.
My thing is the Canucks feast on the weaker teams. That's where they pump up their stats. On the teams like Minnesota, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't even get a shot on that. Come on.
Again, I think that their power play is way too predictable. I would change it up and just change the personnel on the first unit. I'd like to see Ethan Bear out there on the first unit power play.
No. If you got to use, you got to use them on the thing. Maybe start the second unit. Once in a while. Because they got their top defenseman out for the first 30, 40 seconds. Use the second unit there. When the second unit comes on, you put the first unit on for the power play. It might work.
I guess the biggest annoyance on the Canucks power play that I have is when they're entering their zone, they do that little drop pass.
Yeah, every single time.
And my dad really doesn't understand it. I try to explain to him that, they're not the only team that does this. There's teams with really good hockey teams that do this. But I understand. Yeah, the fact I guess the biggest thing is your players are coming down the ice. They have to stop at the blue line so they're not offside. And the other team, is in a great position.
They get to stand up now.
Yeah, they just stand you up right at the blue line, and at that point, what has to happen is you got to dump the puck in on the power play, and you're forechecking on the power play, which you don't want, and that's something I've never understood.
Well, once in a while, instead of you fake the drop pass and just go straight, once in a while, just shake it up because everybody knows and they key on it.
They do.
They just the guy stops at center ice and he's waiting for the drop pass. How many times have you seen that?
And then, as I said, the teammates they're all at the blue line where they have to stop, and then the Canucks have no option but to dump it in.
Well,
And the guys that are on the power play aren't guys that are going to go into the corner to dig the puck out anyways.
Well,
you're losing control of a power play.
Well, the other thing is, and Bo Horvat has done this year, tips. Nobody wants to tip it, Horvat's been tipping it this year. He's been in that slot where the buffer play. Kuzmenko just goes to the side of the net and he does that smart. Just go to the side. Shoot it wide. The goalie doesn't know if it's done properly. You got to.
But it's so predictable. It's so predictable. They have to change things up. I guess if their power play was in the 20s, in 20th or worse in the league, then maybe they would. But I think that the problem is it's a top 10 power play, and they're not going to change things as long as that happens.
Do you put Brock Besser on the power play?
I'd put Brock on the second unit.
Yeah, well, on the first unit.
Yeah, you know what? If it means changing things up, I'm not opposed to. Well,
I don't want him on the first unit right now because I think Kuzmenko's just a better guy.
Yeah, and the guy I would put out there on the first unit is Garden. He's a shoot first guy. He's a guy who'll shoot the puck from anywhere, and I think that could be effective on the power play.
Who do you take out?
There's lots of.
Do you take out Kuzmenko?
Well,
you're not going to take out Miller.
No, but you have.
Well, it's you got Horvat who's going to take the draw, Miller, and then you got Pettersson. You're going to take Kuzmenko. So you get
one of those guys would come out because I just like the fact that he shoots the puck, and the Canucks don't shoot the puck on the power play.
Well, I don't mind if you move Kuzmenko to the second power play.
Yes.
Longest they get the first unit gets off in 45 seconds.
And that's the problem. And if you want to put the first unit back on again,
exactly,
do it. You see a lot of teams do that. But the Canucks first unit they're on way too long, and they have opportunities and have chances to change.
And that's why they get so many shorthanded goals scored against them, because they're too tired to skate back.
Absolutely.
Because they're on there for what is called, a minute or something. They do it.
And some of those guys are out there a minute before the penalty.
Exactly.
So they're out there over 2 minutes. And they have the opportunity. The puck's in their own zone. Go to your bench and change. I'm yelling at the TV when this happens, and it pisses me off.
Well, it's not going to change anytime soon as long as they keep scoring on the weak teams. Like, when was it that they actually scored on a good team? Like, they scored on Montreal, they scored on San Jose, the weaker teams. They feast on those guys.
Well, I'm sure they have those are the games they're getting multiple goals.
Yeah.
And again, that's just padding
on Calgary,
the percentage, right?
They couldn't score a goal on the power play. If I'm not mistaken.
It's frustrating, as I said. And there's a lot of simple solutions. We've come up with half a dozen or a dozen right here.
Maybe we should be coaching.
Maybe we should.
Okay.
But I'd be coaching the defense, the penalty kills. You can do the power play.
Nah.
But it's an easy fix.
I like yelling at the TV myself. So.
Well, it's an easy fix, but it's not going to happen until they struggle.
Well, I don't think it's an easy fix. You got all these.
We just came up with it, and it's an easy fix.
Yeah, but you got to see if it actually works. What we say, right?
Well, unless you try it, you don't know. Yeah. But the biggest thing is you got to get more shots on the power play.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like if you got people tipping it, like a Garland would tip it. Brock Besser once in a while he tips it in front there, but he's so close to the goalie, the tip isn't effective.
You got to be out. 2 or 3 feet out,
exactly.
4 feet out from the goalie, where Bo Horvat is tipping his shots.
Yeah.
We hope that if you guys like this, give it this a like and hit that subscribe button and comment below. We'd like to hear, see some of your comments, what you think, or even. You guys can come up with a topic for us to talk about, and then we can discuss that. So we appreciate this, and we'll see you next time.